Where are marketing and technology going in 2025 and beyond? Chief marketing officers are forecasting lower social media usage, more in-person experiences, and a dramatic rise in applications of artificial intelligence. Is anyone surprised there? What predictions are accurate and what is simply speculative puffery? Marketing and sales are full of myths, misconceptions, and apparently way too much social media usage. So join us as we leave the echo chamber and give our 2 cents about what to expect in 2025 and beyond.
Hello and welcome to the Rethink Marketing Podcast, where today we are diving into round 2 of our crystal ball. I'm Paul Frodge, joined by Mr. Marketing, and for today's conversation, the data-driven dynamo with a deep dive into disruptive trends. Colin Jeffries. Colin, how are you today?
Paul, I'm fantastic. Again, good to be talking to you. And I'm ecstatic to get into these next 3 Gartner predictions. So folks, if you missed last week's episode, please go download that and listen to it quickly. It's a short, probably 17 or 18 minute episode. And Paul and I really lay the groundwork and the framework for what we're discussing today as well. We talked about predictions 1 through 3 of Gartner's 2025 through, say, 2028 predictions. And today we're ripping the Band-Aid off and diving into predictions 4, 5, and 6. So Paul, you want to read us through the next 3 predictions, and then we can dive in on whether we agree or disagree?
Absolutely. So Colin, prediction number 4, 70% of ad spend will shift to offline channels due to increasing digital detox. Prediction number 5, AI agents become the primary source of collecting data on consumers. And then looking at prediction number 6, AI assistants will drive a 25% decrease in mobile app usage by 2027. So let's go to number 4 and talk a little bit about this ad spend shifting to offline, Colin.
Paul, this is going to be a hard disagree for me. I've seen people, the data bears out that 65% of people have decreased their time on social media in the last 12 months. People are really starting to shift toward offline experiences. I agree with that. I think as a consumer and as a marketing leader, I want more offline experiences and I want to provide more offline experiences. However, 70% of ad spend, that's a lot. That means that marketers are going to completely and dramatically shift away from what we've been doing the last 10 or so years and revert to what was being done in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Is that actually going to happen? I just don't think it is. If the number was notably smaller, if it was 15%, maybe even as high as 20%, I could agree with that. But we're seeing more money flowing to social media than ever before. We're seeing digital sort of offline, online hybrids where if you go to an event, everyone has a QR code that you can scan. Even these in-person events are not focused on decreasing online engagement. They're focused on increasing online engagement. I disagree with this one. I think I am optimistic that we will see an increase in these digital detoxes, breaking up with your phone, so to speak. But 70% shifting to offline channels, I just don't see it.
100% agree. I disagree. 100% agree that I disagree. Looking at this one, 70%. I mean, I don't know who's coming up with these such high numbers of some of these percentages, but the aspiration for getting people off of their phones and interacting with humans again, it's definitely a nice thought, but I have a hard time believing that this is going to be at 70%, even over the next 2 or 3 years. It's just an astronomical number in looking at this. So, Colin, you had the pleasure of listening into the 2025 Gartner predictions a couple of weeks ago. So, interested to hear if they elaborated on this particular bullet point at all.
Yeah, Paul. So they were saying that this would actually be driven by customers and customers basically dropping off of digital platforms. This was one of the situations where they said by 2028, mass digital detoxing will force CMOs to spend 70% of their total marketing budgets on offline channels to better engage customers who are fleeing from digital channels. When I think about how, and this is now Colin speaking versus Gartner, when I think about the way that people are shifting to more online shopping, to more engagement with apps and videos and all sorts of content digitally, I just don't see this mass exodus of digital platforms, even if people are using social media a little bit less. Okay, maybe they're not buying stuff on the TikTok shop as much, but does that mean that they're walking into Target versus using the Target app or Target online? I just don't see this happening as a marketing operator. 70% of ad shift spent 70% of ad spend shifting. Is it going to billboards? Is it going to um, in-person experiences? I don't see mass marketing shifting that dramatically, even in the next couple of years.
You bring up a good point about actually going into shop. And I think of companies like Apple. You go to the mall and walk past every store, and might be a few people in, a couple random stores, but everybody's in Apple. And I know they're not all at the Genius Bar. They're shopping. They want to touch it. They want to feel it. They want to see it. And just interested to see if you have any thoughts in regards to how other brands might be able to take that Apple experience and actually get people in to shop again.
Yeah, I think a lot of this depends on what the retail situation looks like. I think about, how many people you have knock on your door and try to sell windows and gutters and siding to you, but there are also a lot of showrooms. So is it they're coming to you, they're interrupting you, or is it you are going to a destination? And if you're going to a destination, oil change places do a great job. There's free coffee, there's cable TV or whatever. Like you can sit down and you can enjoy yourself at some level, free Wi-Fi while you're there. But are you going there just to like pitter around, or are you going there for a specific transaction to take place? And so that I think is what a lot of folks are missing. Even Starbucks recently has been slipping in this regard, right? They were heralded as the champion of the third place. You would wake up in your house, you would go to work, those are your first and second places, and then on the way home or on the way to work or on the way to school or what have you, you'd stop at your third place, Starbucks. They've even seen that slip a lot, and you could blame COVID, you could blame the digital experience, et cetera. I'm not going to get into that, but I think, Paul, we really have to recognize, how do we get people to come to our showroom or our store or our shop or our fill in the blank, our brick and mortar location, in a way that's providing them with an engaging and a fun experience? When I was a kid and a teenager, even, I used to love milling around bookstores. I thought that was really fun because you could pull a book off the shelf, you could thumb through it, you could think, is this something that I want to learn? Is this something that I'm engaged with? Is this interesting to me, etc.? It was just a fascinating place to go. I don't know why it was more fun than the library, but for some reason it was more fun than the library. And so I think about that experience and how do we connect with the right audience who wants to engage with our content, who wants to engage with our experiences that we're offering, and really build relationship with them versus trying to duke it out on Amazon's sponsored ads, right?
You bring up a good point about that human experience. My daughter was telling me yesterday about Starbucks. She had read about them having to go back to the handwriting on the cups again and having some sort of personalized note or have a great day or a heart or something. So even Starbucks is trying to make sure that it is more of a personal experience and keep at it with that.
Yes, 100%. Well, Paul, prediction 5, artificial intelligence agents become the primary source of collecting data on consumers. This one from a marketing perspective. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's still too early to make AI, the data collecting for, at number one is my opinion. Looking at, the all the other opportunities where data collection is actually being done through surveys, through looking at actually filling in forms online, looking at the experience of the world to get that data. I think that AI, it's just a little bit too early to say that that's going to be the number one play, but I do see that over maybe the coming years as becoming number one, just not as soon as what Gardner is predicting.
Absolutely. And for clarity's sake, Gartner was saying by 2027, 85% of customer data will be collected from automated interactions or those led by AI agents. I think there's going to be an innumerable amount of data being collected on people that actually engage with us. I think what we're going to see, instead of AI agents becoming the primary source over the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot more reliance on third party data and data matching. Because again, as people use AI more from an AI summary perspective, from an asking, Siri, Amazon, whatever, fill in the blank, we're just going to see AI agents improving and increasing in usage from a consumer perspective. I think we will see them increase exponentially from a marketing perspective as well. I just don't think 85% of customer data is going to be collected by those.
Colin, you do bring up a good point in terms of it being a couple years down the road, but I do see if this was reworded in a certain way where the data collection was then dumped into AI to have a faster uh, experience in calculating or a faster predictor of instead of a manual type of thing, AI definitely will be used for enhancing the speed of the market with that for sure.
Absolutely. And kudos to Gartner, too. Although I disagree with this particular point, they did bring up that marketers will have to work increasingly closely with legal and technology leaders to make decisions around data governance. I think that's something that historically marketers have sort of sat back and said, data governance, that's really legal, that's really technology, et cetera. Well, because data is going to be so powerful and such a competitive differentiator and a unique value in a lot of ways, I think marketers are going to continue to sort of force our ways into those meetings and making a lot of those decisions alongside legal and technology counterparts to ensure that data is being leveraged, processed, and taken advantage of in optimal ways. All right, Paul, you want to bring us home with the last prediction?
Absolutely. So looking at prediction number six. Number six, AI assistance will drive a 25% decrease in mobile app usage by 2027. Totally agree with this. And in looking at this, I, I I definitely I haven't done the calculation, but I know I've downloaded less apps in the last 24 months or last 12 months than I had in previous years. You scroll across all of the different home screens, and the number of apps that are not being used on my phone is just insane. So I definitely agree with this point.
I agree. I'm not sure when they said 25% decrease by 2027, if 2027 will be a 25% decrease over 2026, or if they mean 2027 will be a 25% decrease over 2024. I'm guessing that they mean it will be a 25% decrease over 2024. And that being the case, I do agree with this because, man, when I think about, to your point, Paul, the cost of maintaining an app versus a website, the fact that almost all websites now are smartphone friendly, that we're layering on various types of technology, i.e., Siri and other things that are allowing us to use essentially app like responses and app like engagement, just using another app, i.e., Siri, or an app like Google Chrome or Safari or whatever you have on your phone. I agree with this. I just don't think that apps are as profitable as they once were. The flip side of this, though, is that for massive organizations that leverage apps well, that will become a unique differentiator, and they will continue to try to push content through their apps, to push notifications, to push special deals and special sales and special incentives to continue to collect data, because consolidation of apps to defray cost of maintenance, consolidation of apps to combine audiences, complete abandoning of apps because of the cost of maintenance and because audiences are no longer using them, et cetera. That's going to mean that people will use apps less, but they'll want to use their core apps more. And that's going to be good for the likes of TikTok, Meta, et cetera, because again, they're wanting to collect as much of our data as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about retail, you think about restaurants, and most likely the ones that I frequent or our family frequents or the apps that on that side of things that are going to be kept into the future. The ones that where you're using it maybe once a year or once, in a lifetime, will I think the downloads are going to be less and less. You talk about Starbucks being that third stop, after work or before work and all that. Starbucks will definitely be on my phone. You think of there's a certain pizza company that you get pizza every Friday night. Those will be just easier, right? If the user experience is there. But the random apps that people want you to download and then send you spam and sales information and things that you're only going to use infrequently are probably going to be less and less over time.
So Paul, I think if you're just downloading a random app, you could call that a random app of kindness. Am I understanding that right?
That's right. That's right.
I think to your point, we'll continue to see a decrease in app usage over the next several years. I am aligned with Gartner on this one, and I think it's something that marketers really need to consider, because building an app is typically a six-figure plus investment just to get it up off the ground. And then especially if it's a complex app where, people can order, pay, track, etc. through that platform. So very, very cost prohibitive, I would say, at this point, when we can leverage other technologies much more effectively and much cheaper. Well, Paul, it's been really fun talking through Gartner's 6 predictions. We'll run through all 6 of them real quick. Prediction number 1, AI-powered search will require major changes in content strategy. Paul, you and I agreed with that one. Prediction number 2, subscription-based content platforms will thrive amid social engagement decline. Digital marketers will allocate 30% of their paid social budgets to ads and partnerships on subscription platforms. You and I disagreed with that one. Prediction 3, 50%, half of B2C brands will abandon dynamic pricing. You and I agree with that one. Prediction number 4, 70% of ad spend will shift to offline channels due to increasing quote unquote digital detox. You and I disagree with that one as well. Prediction number 5, AI agents will become the primary source of collecting data on consumers. You and I disagree with that one. And the final prediction number 6, AI assistants will drive a 25% decrease in mobile app usage by 2027. And you and I agree with that one as well. This has been a really fun conversation breaking down Gartner's predictions over the next couple of years. I hope that our audience enjoyed it as much as we did. It's always fun to try to peek around the bend a little bit and see what is in our crystal ball. So we hope that we're driving value here, and we'll come back later on in 2026 and evaluate how we did. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on the Rethink Marketing Podcast. Until next time, keep rethinking those common assumptions and keep rethinking what the future may hold. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If people want to connect with us, where should they go, Paul?
RethinkMarketingPodcast.com, Colin. What can listeners do to help us in return for the sage marketing wisdom and our pithy humor?
They can help us by leaving a review on their favorite platform or sharing this episode with a fellow marketer to help them cut through the clutter.
Well, until next time, keep rethinking those common assumptions.